Hi, my name is Nicole and this is my A2 media evaluation. Right. In terms of forms and conventions, looking at my poster, the colour scheme for the poster is very simple, however it is striking to look at. The colours of the grey and the blue are mostly used throughout the poster, but in different shades, as well as using the colour white. This can be similar to the Woman in Black poster, as I got inspiration from this, and due to the minimal text and the colour scheme as well. Looking at the mise-en-scène suggests that the genre of the film is horror, due to the close-up of the female protagonist and the picture of the killer over there. And the smoke could also just suggest the wind is not only a film convention but a real-life ghost encounter story convention as well. I've also used the blue and the white colour theme of the background, as cold areas are a common haunting type of place to set a horror story, and the face in the wind also does this as well. The poster does follow conventions. Also, there is minimal text on the poster, which pushes the main focus on the female character, showing she will play a significant part in the film. For my research, I looked at the Woman in Black poster and the Gone poster as well. And from looking at these posters, I believe that it helped me and Sabra a lot in this process because it gave us an idea of what we would like our poster to look like. And it also gave us a glimpse of what our killer character, as well as showing if we wanted to show a lot of the killer or a lot of the female or the protagonist. And to show that the genre is a suspenseful thriller as well, with horror aspects in it as well. And looking at my website, as the website opens, there will be an automatic pop-up box, so audiences can click on the trailer. And this can be seen as a good way to promote the film, as it straight away gives you the option to watch the trailer before you look around on the website. I got this idea from looking at Daniel Radcliffe in the Woman in Black on the Woman in Black website. I liked the Woman in Black website. Mine also includes a gallery page, which allows the viewer to see different pictures taken from the film as well. And the website will have a synopsis page as well to tell the viewer what the film is about. This then shows that I'm complying with codes and conventions to film websites, as it will give the reader an insight about what the film's about. I also looked at the website for Final Destination 5. This came up with a striking image of the skull, and immediately breaks out and goes into this image here. Then, as you can see at the bottom, there are all the different tabs, alike to mine as well. This then shows that Sabra and I didn't really want our website to be as striking as that. However, I blended our killer's face in the corner, similarly to the poster as well, so it doesn't give too much away about the killer. For my trailer, we decided to go with horror, as we can really build on the codes and conventions of it, with, as you can see from our trailer here, it's quite dark. But we have the killer behind the protagonist, however she hasn't noticed that yet. And we wanted to have scenes that start with the viewer, as well as have some supernatural and fantasy themes as well. Sabra and I used and looked at many trailers from the horror thriller genre to give us this inspiration. We looked at The Grudge, The Woman in Black, and Final Destination. In terms of how effective the combination of the main product and the ancillary text, looking at the trailer and the other two texts, it's evident that they're from the same film brand. Looking at the fonts and the colour and the background images as well. The fonts on the trailer are quite similar, and so this can show that the text is consistent and fluid, which can therefore create a better, stronger brand image. And this can also help audiences see that it's from the same genre and same film. In terms of feedback for my poster, the fonts I used at the very beginning, this was my first draft poster, the fonts I used and the names are quite simple, however effective, but I didn't want to use too many fonts as this will be really distracting. Then looking at my second draft, I added 2 images because that was my feedback from my teachers and peers. So I added the 2 images of the protagonist and the thief and the killer. And this is my final poster draft. My feedback was to blend the protagonist even more and to keep her the same and shrink the strap line so it doesn't take away any effect from the images and the font as well. And the use of the stars indicates the poster looks more professional. However, as this was my first draft, I was still going to be putting images as well so that the audience can raise questions. I then received feedback from peers and teachers about the strapline because, as you can see here, it was deadly past. Then I had to change it to deadly fantasy as it would make more sense because fantasy and reality, whereas past and present and future, so it made more sense. Looking at my website, this was my first draft where I had a larger image of the killer, and I thought that was good. However, I then experimented with the binning box at the bottom, as this was part of my feedback, and adapted the transparency of the images so they are subtly incorporated, especially of the killer. And I also added media icons, as this was crucial from looking at other film websites, as they also have this. However, this is my final website page, and also I've equally moved the components so that the content is less heavily weighted at the top. Because as you can see here, I had the title, the tagline, the date, and the follow and iforanI.co.uk, as that was too heavy at the top. So I made it balanced and just had, so it made it look more simpler. For our trailer, we received quite a lot of feedback. However, we received both positive and negative feedback. The main concern for our trailer is that it lacked pace. Therefore, the main problem was that we had to cut scenes and put them together so that it increased pace and emphasised the thriller chase side of the film. By doing this was an effective decision, as it conformed to generic conventions. Looking at the Grudge trailer, it was very fast shots and quick cuts, so it increased the pace of the film. Also, we had to reshoot some scenes so that we can see what the female lead is doing before the killer is here, and this can also be taken from the Grudge trailer, as this happened as well. As well, we also included a car chase, as this made the story more clearer and it showed that it increased pace and made the story more clear on how the male lead was going to get to his wife as quick as possible because of the killer was there. In terms of research and planning, we had to research the horror genre to find stories creating a feeling of fear, and we then had to look at conventional settings as well as camera angles and iconography. We liked the idea of using maybe a basement or isolated communities. In terms of angle shots, we liked high angle shots of like the woman, so that she's quite inferior, and jump cuts to increase pace, and iconography, low-key lighting, which is seen throughout the trailer. In terms of media technologies, I've used Blogger. I learned how to firstly upload new posts and also designing my blog from last year to make it look more eye-catching and more attractive. And Blogger enabled me to showcase all my work and the journey that I went through with all the planning and research. I also use SlideShare, as this can be seen as an easy way to upload presentations of my work to embed them into Blogger, as this doesn't take long and it made the presentations look more pleasant and readable. On Animoto, we created a horror mood board of like different posters and different films from the horror genre, and this gave us an idea of what we'd like ours to include. In terms of soundtrack research, this took quite a while because we first looked on SoundCloud and we wanted a mixture of diegetic and non-diegetic sound, as we want some of the characters talking as well as having non-diegetic sound in the background. And we wanted a piece that created a suspenseful and thrilling sound and a big climax at the end to show the killer, like a small snippet of the killer. We also looked at freemusicplay.com. I thought it was very useful and easy and simple to find music. However, we didn't find anything that useful. However, from looking at SoundCloud, I found a song called Death Star, as this song really captured and represented the horror thriller side of the film. And so it was very effective because they added suspense and the thrill side of our trailer, which also fitted with the genre and the storyline. In terms of motion, Sabra and I were able to experiment with different fonts, as there were a lot of options. For our first draft and our rough cut trailer, the font was a live font, meaning that it moved and developed what it wanted to say. However, from looking at audience feedback, they were not keen on this, as the pace was too slow and the writing was hard to read. We then took this on board and we found another font with white writing and was bigger and bolder, so that was more visible. However, when we showed this to the audience, they said the font did not link well with horror genre and looked like it was from a Western-themed font instead of a horror. From this feedback, we decided to use a normal font instead of a live font, and we experimented with the red, you can see there, the red and the white colour, so that this can also symbolize good versus evil as well, and it emphasizes more of a horror genre. On Final Cut Pro, we were able to log and capture and edit our footage for our trailer. Sabra and I found that editing was quite a challenge, as we faced many problems along the way. Examples were we were unable to capture the footage on Final Cut Pro, and also we had problems with Final Cut Pro actually opening. However, after this happened, we resolved this and we found editing really useful, and we started to make the narrative and motion so that we can finally have the first draft finished. We then had to use Dreamweaver to make our website go live. Dreamweaver was useful as we could see how the buttons work, and also to make sure that it worked when we put our trailer on it on an actual web page. In Photoshop, I learned how to overlay a certain part of the text to make it seem more eye-catching and professional. For these two images, I used a spot healing brush to take away any pimples or blemishes, and that were on the images. As I said before, I created my poster website on Photoshop. I learned how to blend and fade images so that they blend into the background. I did this by simply pulling across the layer. 30% was for the picture here, made her really blend into the background, as well as using for the female protagonist as well. I also used the pen brush to pick a point, then blend the colour when pressing the paintbrush to blend any colours that were around here, so make it look even. Looking at my final publications, I believe I created a portfolio that fits well with the genre and lives up to audiences' expectations from looking at feedback, and I think it creates a well-branded combination, and the use of the specific fonts and the images display the genre well, and also that helps the audience understand the story, as well as a trailer will hopefully do this.